Okay, take it away, Jessie.
Okay, hi everyone. It's nice to be here virtually, at least. I know Renee and Marta are in the audience here, which is kind of fun to see virtually. So they've kind of known about this project a little bit too, but this is a bit of an update on a project that we would love to conduct in Bolton, Waterbury area in the Green Mountains of Vermont. So in 2014 to 2016, there was a study done in this area that looked at I-89, which is one of our highways, in US 2, another busy road here in Vermont, and saw that they were fragmented features for wildlife. And this was done by McFarland Johnson. That study identified that there were a lot of white-tailed deer in this area. A lot of the study was based on using wildlife cameras to identify species. And we also noticed that we have a culvert in this location, and the only animal that even made contact with the culvert is a little gray fox, shown looking like it's coming out of the culvert, but we're not actually quite sure. But yeah, we had a lot of white-tailed deer in this area, which are, of course, a hazard for drivers, but we also don't want to fragment our wildlife. So we figured we should have a solution for that. So this is our situation that we're dealing with here. We have US Route 2 here, and we have our interstate here. We have a culvert here, and from that initial study, it was determined that this would be a really, really excellent place to install a wildlife crossing if we ever were able to secure funding or any sort of monitoring or anything like that to get this to happen. So a lot of this presentation is what we're doing now. So to look at this location a little more personally, if you are an animal trying to cross the road, the first thing you're going to see is US Route 2, which here carries around 5,000 vehicles a day. And then you're going to be on the northbound side of I-89, which has this big Jersey barrier there. The speed limit here is 65 miles an hour, and it carries around 12,000 vehicles a day, which actually is the most carried in Vermont, which might sound very, very small to some other people in some other states. But after that, then you are immediately hit with the highway going the other direction. And you can see just how big that Jersey barrier is and how that is a physical, actual barrier for wildlife. So one thing that we are doing currently, I know that Melinda Squillens gave a presentation on this yesterday, is that we are currently monitoring this location. So I have a little video going here of a coyote, and it's very long, but to summarize, this coyote goes up to the road, stops for a little bit, and looks at what is going on there, and then immediately turns around. So we can see that there's actual separation and fragmenting, and it's not allowing movement of animals in real time, which is really crazy to see. In addition to these heat cameras, we also have Reconyx game cameras out there, and we are conducting roadkill surveys on this location as well. So here's just some of our data from Survey 123 in this graph here. And you can see that we have a very large amount of other marked here. And I don't have all of the data for this, but most of that other is actually barred owls that we have been recording. So if anybody has any ideas of how to decrease barred owl mortality, please let me know, because that is a big species that we are seeing being hit on our transect here. We're monitoring 4 miles in between this area to see how much roadkill is produced weekly, so that we can possibly go for another round of funding. This project got one round of funding to be able to produce plans for this from the IIJA funding, and we're hoping that that funding will still be available for us to apply again. So why do we really care about this area? Well, it's in the middle of two really big habitat blocks. The southern one is 54,000 acres and the northern one is 72,000 acres. And not only are these big habitat blocks, but they're also protected. So we have Camel's Hump State Park in the south, and we have Mount Mansfield State Forest in the north. So in addition to wanting to replace this culvert and put in a crossing, we're trying to go and protect the land on either side directly so that it's not developed, so that animals will actually want to cross the road there. And I'm sure you guys know that on a larger scale, we can increase connectivity. So here's a map of habitat blocks. Again, in the little red dot is where our culvert is, and the big blocks of green are big habitat blocks. Again, very similar concept. I'm sure you've seen it a lot through this conference. I know I have, of just, if we go and we replace this culvert and put in a larger structure, we'll be able to increase movement throughout the entire spine of the Green Mountains, to which a lot of that land is protected and is habitat blocks. So you can kind of see that movement there. And this plays really well into our Vermont conservation design, which is a concept that just creates habitat that's intact and connected and diverse. So this also plays into a larger initiative to preserve and restore landscapes all throughout New England. So our project location is here. So you can see that it's in one of the hotspot areas that they would like to focus on connecting. So here's our current culvert that we'd like to replace. There's a big scour hole on the outlet, and the inlet side does not allow water passage. And if anybody knows anything about Vermont in the past couple of years, we have seen a substantial amount of flooding. So we actually have a lot of flood debris above the culvert inlet as well, like 20 feet above it, just because it gets blocked up and then it shoots out on the outlet side, which just obviously is bad for water quality and erosion and very bad for wildlife. So we really need to replace this culvert at some point anyway, so we might as well put in a better structure. So like I said, this project was initially funded by the IIJA for the development of plans. So here are some preliminary plans that we have. So what I'm currently showing you is a picture of the current culvert, which is 385 feet long. So we're hoping that we'll be able to take it from this to this, which is a long span precast concrete arch, and it's going to be around 200 feet long. And you can see that it's a lot wider here, which will increase the openness ratio and hopefully allow animals to feel a lot more comfortable crossing, especially our larger ungulates. So here's just a profile view of that. So there's our existing culvert. And then this is our proposed culvert that we'd like to do. So we're going to take it from this to this. And we're really hoping that we'll be able to get the next round of funding and continue monitoring and be able to gather some more data on this spot so we can get this in. So yeah, we also have a fun little 2-scale moose here. So yeah, that's what I have. Any questions?